Words couldn't describe how messed up kid shows can truly be. Whether it would be scenes that no child should honestly see, like the gruesome toenail scene from SpongeBob, or an episode of Steven Universe where Steven mutates into a bunch of cats, something like that. To be frank, those could have been cases of childhood trauma, but what I remember managed to screw with my brain. To be upright, I used to watch some of my DVDs and VHS tapes, even though we couldn't afford Netflix, Amazon Prime, or even the likes of that at the time. But what I wound up doing was buying a series of DVDs and tapes, if they remained. I always wanted to watch The Lion Guard, which aired on Disney Junior, along with its pilot movie being aired on Disney Channel. It's a 2016 TV show based spin-off to the classic Disney film series we loved in the 90s and 2000s called The Lion King, which came out in 1994, and its sequel, The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, came out in 1988. Hell, have you ever heard of the 1995 Timon and Pumbaa TV series? Boy, those are the crap back in the day. Well, there's also The Lion King 1.5, or The Lion King 3, which came out in 2004, and it's about Timon and Pumbaa going on into crazy antics behind the first movie. Okay, let's get on with the story. My older sister and I decided to go to a local rental shop to buy a DVD of The Lion Guard. Then, I finally noticed one. To be specific, it's one of those DVDs of shows that featured 4 or 5 random episodes. I picked up the Lion Guard DVD and it was entitled Be Safe in the Pride Lands. The cover was nothing special. It was just an almost low quality screen cap of the final scene from the season 1 opening, where it featured the gang standing over the rocks while the clouds roared. What a lazy DVD cover. And listed 4 random aired episodes, including one that had never been aired. The original episodes were Fuli's New Family, Paintings and Predictions, Can't Wait to Be Queen, and Beware of Zimui. The final unaired episode was included in the DVD was called Fuli's Inferno. I thought that episode title looked innocent enough, but hey, I believe the word Inferno was a kid-friendly and unique term for hell. I gave the DVD to my sister and she paid for it. Then we headed home and it was my opportunity to watch the DVD alone by putting the disc into my PlayStation 4. I took out some pizza and soda my mother ordered us so I could sit back and watch the show. The 4 aired episodes were honestly great, but the 5th and final episode caused me to lose faith in life itself and will scar me with distressing nightmares. The final unaired episode opened with the regular intro, which showed us the cast of the Lion Guard group with the typical African music. Once it cut to the show's logo with the usual deep voice saying the name, it then showed the title card below the logo. It read, Fuli's Inferno, followed by Kion's voice saying the episode name. After the intro and title card, it cuts to the field of the Pride Lands with the Lion Guard talking about what they were going to do on this fine day, which is nothing special. Then, Bunga started to talk about a unique forest that no animal had ever been to. Kion wound up asking, Are you sure about this, Bunga? I bet that forest is too dangerous to go into if curious. Oh, come on, it'll be fun today, you guys, Bunga replied, before he takes the gang to where he had been talking about. The forest Bunga talked about looked rather displeasing. It looked like something that didn't seem to belong in a place like Africa. The trees looked crooked, dead, and grey. But what's more displeasing is that the forest was filled with a large, dark red fog. Fuli looked very anxious and began telling Bunga, saying, Kion is right, Bunga. We should not go in there because it is dangerous. Before Bunga could say anything, Simba appears and tells the group that the forest is actually dangerous to go in, just like what Kion and Fuli said. Any animal that goes into that forest never gets out of there, Simba said. If you kids go in there, you'll be forever lost, and even worse, perish. The entire Lion Guard gasped at the words forever lost and perish. They, along with Simba, walked away from the forest. Fuli was still anxious, wishing that she wouldn't go into that forest. Bunga then called the uneasy cheetah Scaredy Cat, and he believed that Simba made that up to scare them. Are you serious, Bunga? Fuli yelled. The king is not making that up. If we go in there, we'll be lost for good and then we'll die. Oh, such a smart king, cheetah, Bunga replied. You better come with me if you dare. No, we are not going into that forest, and that's final, Fuli snarled. Well, catch me if you can, Bunga yelled as he ran into the forbidden forest. Bunga, no, Fuli screamed frantically as she chased Bunga. You are going to get us lost and killed. Kion noticed the cheetah and the honey badger running into the forest and shouted, Fuli, Bunga, no, but it was too late for them. Well, there goes 2 of our Lion Guard members, one uttered before he flew away and began to find them. The egret used his bird's eye view to find the 2 lost recruits in the haunted forest, but turns out he was unsuccessful. It's too late, Ono said sadly. Did they just disappear? Beshti questioned. Yes, completely, Ono moaned. How is this possible? Kion asked. I have no idea, Ono answered. But don't ever think of going in there. We will get completely lost and die if we try to save them. Both Kion and Beshti agreed with Ono's advice as the three walked away, not even thinking of a solution to save the two that were stranded in the dreaded forest. It transitioned to Fuli and Bunga now inside the forest, with the place looking very dark along with a crimson fog. Now look what you've made us do, Bunga, Fuli growled. Enraged, we're finally stuck here forever because of you. Now our way out has suddenly disappeared, nothing but an endless sea of trees, and it was very, very dark and foggy in here. Bunga seemed rather upset because of Fuli's yelling. He said in pure guilt and sorrow, I guess you're right. The forest is indeed very haunted. I'm sorry, Fuli. We should not be going in here. Fuli, uncharacteristic of her, immediately said in a calm, angry manner, oh, that's not good enough. Now I have to find an exit somewhere. To be fair, no animal shouldn't be here. The king cheetah then ran fast to find an exit, atypically neglecting the poor honey badger who was guilty of entering the forest with Fuli. Fuli, you can't leave me, Bunga sobbed. I clearly had to find an exit too, to which no reply. Bunga began to cry softly because Fuli left him to rot in that inescapable forest. It then transitioned to Fuli, who was frantically running for an exit, but to no avail. Impossible! There's got to be a way out, she cried. The music in this scene, however, was different. It was something that was never heard on a show like this before, especially since The Lion Guard and even The Lion King movies intended to have African jungle-like music. To be sincere, it was kind of like the dramatic music you would hear in Ren and Stimpy and SpongeBob. No, Fuli sobbed as she finally stopped running. Oh, it's so dark in here. How would I ever escape this horrible place? The fast cheetah was even more upset with the idea of abandoning Bunga for his mistakes. She refused to forgive. Oh, Bunga, she cried. Softly, I'm very sorry that I have to leave you here and never forgive you. We all make mistakes. She kept sobbing and crying for a moment until a strange loud noise was emitted from the distance. It sounded like an inhuman distressed voice moaning. It wasn't cartoony at all, but it sounded like something was in great pain and on the verge of tears. What was that? Fuli moaned. That didn't sound like Bunga. The curious cheetah walked around the forest to investigate what was making the noise. Then the noise stopped, becoming nothing but haunting ambient music. Something that you'll hear in an indie horror game. Gah, Fuli said stung. I swear, I've already lost Bunga. Now I'm finally alone. Too bad that Kion, Beshti and Ono won't save us in this nightmares of a forest. Then the noise returned. This time it sounded like the thing was screaming. Fuli noticed the source of the noise was chasing her down, and she began to run away fast around the creepy liminal forest. She encountered many disturbing things that didn't fit in a Disney Junior show at all. The fast feline wound up encountering 3 unusual creatures. I tried hard to recall. Those monsters I saw in that episode gave me huge chills. I'd rather go into detail about these horrible things than not. The first creature was a large black and crimson red wolf, but with teeth that were like a saber-toothed tiger. It had menacing yellow eyes with small black pupils. Its jaw in that case seemed to extend crookedly, but it would entirely devour its prey. It also allowed a gut-twisting moan, like that of a human, except diabolical and deep. The second creature was a giant featherless brown bird, almost like that of a vulture. Its bill was sharp as a kitchen knife, and that would stab its prey before devouring it. It had completely huge black eyes, and its wings are like that of a pterodactyl. It also made an unholy alien-like screeching sound. The third creature was the most threatening to describe. It was a ginormous dark black and blue hunchback chimpanzee with extended arms. It had a huge mouth that would open wide and extend with sharp, crooked teeth. Its eyes were completely crimson red with no pupils. The music at this point, if you could even call it that, was a lot tenser and more threatening than ever. Fuli kept running away from the monsters as fast as she could, until she began to pass out. The poor cheetah was tired from all that running and finally away from those baleful creatures. Escape, Fuli moaned. I need to escape. Kion, Beshte, Ono, Bunga, wherever you guys are, help me out of here. Please. This had to be a bad dream. Then she finally rests. It transitioned to an hour later with Fuli just laying there sleeping. The lonely cheetah woke up and realized that she was hungry. She roamed around the endless haunted forest to find something remotely edible, but to no avail. At least no more monsters were preying on her at this time. After a failed search, Fuli wound up going unhinged and began saying, No food, no water, no escape. I can't take it anymore. How is this possible staying in here? She began running around fast in the end of the forest, screaming about her entire ordeal. This is a pure predation. I have no idea where I was going anymore. She kept yelling. Where's the exit? I had enough of this turmoil. Just let me go back to the Pride Land. Fuli then tripped over a rock, letting out a loud yelp and landed on impact. She tried to get up but to no avail. Then she noticed she was grabbed by her legs by something. It was that chimpanzee abomination again. The fearful cheetah shrieked in terror as she looked at the monster she was being grabbed by. Let me go, you freak! Fuli shouted. I don't even know where you are taking me. I bet you're taking me back to the Pride Land. Well, that's not what the mutant chimp was offering at all. Fuli was not ready for a place where her agonizing demise should begin. The creature that was grabbing the hopeless cheetah approached a hole of fire, along with the wolf creature, bird creature, and a lot more hellish abominations I didn't even bother examining. The way they moaned and growled was enough to intimidate the viewing demographic, along with the tense horror ambience playing in the background. No, please, I can't die, Fuli kept crying. You better let me go and take me back this instant. I'm only a young cheetah who doesn't deserve to perish in a fire. The chimp monster then finally talked in a calm but low-pitched, fiendish voice. You shouldn't have come in here. This, however, wound up being with the worst unhappy ending of all time. The monster then dropped the cheetah into the hole of fire, which finally started her demise. Fuli began screaming in intense anguish off screen, as it showed a shot of the crooked trees followed by smoke and the flaming glow coming from the bottom of the screen. Her agonizing, pain-filled screams were just literal, but it got even worse and the show faded to black. Once Fuli's horrific screams died off, it finally showed the ending credits. There were a few oddities I could point out. The background behind the text was pitch black, and instead of the nostalgic upbeat credits theme, Here Comes the Lion Guard, it was the same freaky ambient sound from before. Then it took me back to the menu. I was screwed in the head because of that episode of such a show for younger children. Despite it being unaired, I'm sincere that the publisher made a huge mistake of putting that abomination onto a 5-episode DVD, thinking it was a normal episode. And if I was seriously honest, why was this episode planned for such a show made for Disney Junior, a channel made for babies and younger kids alike? Now I had to show the damn thing to my mother and older sister. I took them to my bedroom and replayed the freaky crap for them. After I played the episode with my mother and sister, they were stunned but ticked at the same time. As I ejected the disc from my PS4 and put it back in its case, my mother hid the DVD away somewhere. She, along with my sister, can't recall the contents of that last episode on that disc. I even told them that it was an unaired episode being mistakenly put onto the disc. I don't know why unaired episodes of innocent kid shows had to be this fricked up, despite one or more of the characters dying in ruthless and genuine ways imaginable. Every godforsaken night, I have been having horrific nightmares, like when I got lost and perished in the haunted forest as my mother and sister and I went on a trip to Africa. Some people believe that the forest in Africa never existed as I told them the story. I honestly believe that the forest is just a Mandela effect or myth. If you manage to come across this unaired freaky episode of The Lion Guard, let me know the backstory of it. It's certainly been a hot minute since I've last listened to / read this story, and I have to say, it's a pretty good one at that. Now, whilst this story does have its plot problems, which I will be getting to in a minute, let's first talk about the story in detail now, shall I? I mean, the good parts in it. Okay, what the hell did I say? Anyways, so the concept of this story. I liked it. Yes, it's quite generic with the whole thing of, the protagonist finding a DVD in a rental shop and it just being a typical DVD with like 5 episodes, however, one of them being in a creepy unaired episode was, I'll admit, quite generic and something that quite a bit of these stories have done. But it was still quite decent, and you might know who this guy is, you may or may not know him. Rowan Horden, he used to make like Teletubbies creepypastas, and I think he privated quite a majority of his videos. But yeah, this was like, he used to make his stories like very specific. Like, I did this, I here, I did. Now, his stories weren't honestly very good for me, honestly. Like, I don't mean that because to disrespect him in any way, but, and he always went into detail about the DVDs he, like, in the stories, like, DVDs of the episode, like, for example, what they were called, what the cover had, and yeah, and it was basically in this story, like, an updated version of that. And I have to say, you honestly did a good job. Now, so, by the way, I did post on the title and the thumbnail. This story is created by Tobical Studios, aka The Formidable Robot, who was the same person who made The Amazing World of Gumball creepypasta, The Rejected, which was another pasta that I had recently narrated, and that was honestly also quite great. But of course, now let's actually get to the episode now, shall we? The episode itself was actually pretty good for me, honestly. The whole thing of, Fuli, by the way, if I've, if narration pronounced some of the names wrong, I've actually never watched The Lion Guard before, so, I mean, I believe when I was younger, it used to be on in the background, but anyways, yeah. But the episode was good, like, involving Fuli and, I believe, Punga, Jesus Christ, yeah, going to the forest and, like, to get all this forest and getting lost and, like, there being a bunch of groovy things was actually pretty good, to be honest, and something that I would probably actually enjoy. And again, I have never watched The Lion Guard before, and I don't actually know if I will watch it, but, So overall, I liked the episode a lot, and I just honestly thought it was great. Make sure there was a bunch of, like, weird things with the grammar, but, which is kind of the same thing with, the Gumball story I narrated by Tobical Studios. But it still didn't really bring the story down that much, Now, of course, do I have any negatives to the story? Well, a minor negative was that the protagonist saying I had many, many nightmares about the episode. Something like that, yeah. I really don't like it when creepypastas do that, however. I'm willing to give it sort of a pass because, like, the protagonist was pretty young. I'm going to assume they were probably around 6. So, and plus, at that age, you do tend to get nightmares about stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I remember, like, when I was 8, I listened to a bunch of creepypasta type videos, and I got scared by them. I remember Suicide Mouse, one of them, but that's bloody irrelevant, so... Yeah, so that part did kind of annoy me, but I am willing to honestly give it kind of a pass. And yes, another kind of, gripe out of the story is some of the grammar. Yeah, a lot of the grammar in the story wasn't really the best, but, you know what I mean? Not the grammar, but, like, I don't really like how, like, when Fuli was getting dragged by the monster, she said, "Oh yeah, I bet you're taking me to the escape." So I can say, like, it's just something I don't really, like that. It doesn't really make much sense. Like, well, I understand it's probably a mistake that Tobical Studios makes quite a bit when he makes these stories, but, it is something which honestly does, like, kind of get under my skin a bit, you get me? And then, of course, the mum and the sister, of course, getting pretty ticked off of the episode and, of course, hiding the DVD away from the protagonist, which, that's probably a bit of an overreaction, but no, well, it's not really that deep. Like, of course, this story was good, but it definitely did have gripes, and I don't really know what I'm saying that now, but, yeah, now, there's not really anything else I can really think of at the top of my head, aside from, like, because the DVD thing was quite generic, but it did put a pretty good spin on it, so, like, I mean, so, anyways, I don't really have much else to say, so I'm honestly might just get to my final thoughts. So, my final thoughts on the story. It was good, pretty great, I liked the episode a lot, it was quite fun, action-packed, and of course, yeah, however, there was some slight problems that brought the story down quite a bit, but I'm willing to look past a lot of those. So, anyways, yeah, my final rating on the story would have to be a 9 out of 10. It was really good, really great, however, just some minor things could have been improved. So, yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so it knows next to Common Controller if you made it this far, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!